on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here to talk to you about Multiple Man. It all makes sense in the end, and boy, that title makes me really upset because it does not. This is one of the most nonsensical comic books I have ever read in my entire life. I had a genuine headache trying to figure out what was going on in this book. I don't think I'm going to be able to explain everything, but I am going to give it the old college try. But first, I need to tell you who is responsible for this abomination of a comic book. This is written by Matthew Rosenberg, artist Andy McDonald, color artist is Tamara Bonvillain, letterer is Travis Lanham, cover art is Marcos Martin, assistant editor Chris Robinson, editors Christina Harrington and Jordan D. White. This is a 5-issue miniseries, and basically, a little bit of background on this. Peter David had pretty much been the only person writing the character of Jamie Madrox, the Multiple Man, in his 10-year run on X Factor. And that run ended, spoilers for that run, Jamie and Layla Miller end up going to the underworld, and basically they kind of become the rulers of the underworld, I think. They basically have their happily ever after, and they are no longer on planet Earth. Then, the next time we see Jamie Madrox, he is in the opening of the event Death of X, where the Terrigen clouds from the Inhumans, that is going around killing various mutants, and Jamie Madrox is the first mutant to die from the Terrigen mist. And that does not make any sense because way back in the Messiah Complex storyline, Jamie Madrox had sent one of his dupes. If you're unaware, Jamie Madrox, he can punch himself or hit his hand on the wall or something and create a duplicate of himself. And he sent one of his dupes into the future that Bishop came from. And then when that dupe died, Jamie got all of his memories. And that dupe had the letter M tattooed on his eye, kind of like Bishop, and every mutant from that time period. And so when that dupe died, Jamie Prime from the present day, he suddenly gets the M tattooed on his face. And then later on in X Factor, we are told that you can use makeup to try and cover it up, but the makeup doesn't really do a good job. It eventually goes away, that the M tattoo is very nearly impossible to get rid of. But by the time you get to Death of X, where Jamie Madrox allegedly dies, he no longer has the M tattoo. And so there were some people saying, well, maybe that's not the real Jamie Madrox, because this is something Marvel has done before. I know in the 90s, Jamie Madrox died of the legacy virus, and then later on they said, just kidding, that was one of his dupes. The real Jamie is still alive. So while death is certainly not permanent in comic books, I cannot think of a single character who has died and stayed dead. Jamie Madrox is even more difficult to convince audiences, yeah, he actually died, because of the nature of his powers. And in theory, if the real the main Jamie Madrox died, all of his dupes would die too. At least that is what we are told. But then, so Jamie Madrox dies in Death of X. We have no idea where Layla Miller is. Then this story opens with a few X-Men finding Jamie Madrox in a bunker. And then he says he is a dupe of Jamie. Incidentally, this Jamie does not have the M tattoo on his face. He says he is a dupe that was created to do some research so that he could try to not die from poison or a virus or anything like that, because they mention Jamie Madrox was killed by the Terrigen mist. And then he says, yeah, I was created to try and do some science research so that I could make sure that that doesn't happen. And then later in the book, Jamie meets a future version of Layla Miller, and he says he has never met her before. So that means that this dupe was created before the events of the Peter Milligan X Factor run. I'm sorry, not Peter Milligan, Peter David X Factor run. So 2005, 2006, that run started immediately following the heels of House of M. So this dupe has been in a bunker for a while. And Beast says that he is dying of cellular degradation. And I don't know how, because if the main Madrox died of the Terrigen plague in Death of X, that was over 10 years after the beginning of Peter David's X Factor run. I'm not sure why this dupe is dying of that. Because if he was working on how to not die when the main Jamie Madrox dies, then he did a pretty good job of it, because he's been in a bunker for like a year and he hasn't died yet. But we are told Beast was able to slow down the cellular degradation, but he was not able to actually cure it. And then this is where things get really confusing. At some point in the future, Jamie Madrox takes over the world. And then there is another Jamie Madrox who is a time traveler who meets the evil Emperor Jamie. Evil Emperor Jamie then kills that Jamie, and then he feels bad about it, and he decides to go back in time and try to warn Beast, do not come up with this serum that is going to cure me. And that way, I won't be able to take over the planet. But then we are also told that this second-in-command Jamie Madrox in the future, who works for Emperor Evil Jamie, he also sent a dupe back in time to try to convince Beast that you need to go ahead and work on this serum. Okay? So is everyone with me here? Here is a panel where one of the Jamies attacks the other Jamie. One of these Jamies is here to convince Beast, do not make this serum that's going to cure me, because in a certain number of years, I am going to take over the world. This is Evil Jamie, who has regrets about taking over the world. Then the other one works for the second-in-command from the future, and he is there to do the opposite. He is there to convince Beast, you need to make this serum and cure me. At this point, I have no idea where the Jamie that they rescued from the bunker is. He does not show up for the rest of the book, because our main character throughout most of the book is the evil tyrant Jamie from the future. We don't know that for several pages or several issues, but when you go back and read the whole thing, this kind of sort of does the Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban thing, where you're repeating scenes that you're seeing again, but like from a different angle. Except in Prisoner of Azkaban, you had a pretty simple story that made sense, and then it was kind of a closed time loop thing, and everything made sense by the end. Absolutely none of this makes sense at the end. No, it does not. So anyway, we have these two Jamies, they're fighting, and they're both operating at cross purposes, and then one of them absorbs the other one, and then a whole bunch of other Jamies show up. One of them has magic powers and is wearing a cloak from Cloak and Dagger. He's wearing his cloak, and he kind of is doing the Doctor Strange magic. One of them is a Hulk. One of them looks like Cable, but he also has transmode virus stuff on him from Warlock. One of them, if for some reason, is dressed like Deadpool. And then they grab the Jamie who is trying to prevent Beast from working on this serum. They grab him, and then they go into the future, where we see the world that Jamie Madrox has taken over. And then they meet future version of Layla Miller, and she has a son, David Miller, who is also the son of the Jamie Madrox that died of the Terrigen Plague from Death of X. And incidentally, in Peter David's X Factor run, at one point, he had sex with Monet from Generation X, and he also had sex with Siren. And one of them, I think it was Siren, had a baby. And then when Jamie touched the baby, he absorbed the baby. So in theory, none of these Jamie Madroxes should be able to touch David Miller, who is essentially another dude, just like when Jamie had sex with Siren and she gave birth to a dude. But that is completely ignored here, just like everything else concerning the character of Jamie Madrox is completely ignored in this story. So anyway, these Jamie Madroxes from different time periods, they join the Resistance, which is basically Layla Miller's son. And then, I don't know, evil Jamie, who is still evil at this point, he finds out that these guys are here. He kills a whole bunch of these different Jamies. Then he cuts off the main Jamie's head, and then immediately he regrets it, and then he goes back in time and then becomes the main Jamie. He goes back in time to try and stop Beast from doing the thing. And then things make even less sense. As I've already said, the Jamie that was rescued at the very beginning of the story, he just disappears. We have no idea where he goes. Does Does he go and die somewhere? Because Beast tells him that he is not cured, that he is going to eventually die of cellular degradation, which aren't we all? But I have no idea what happens to that Jamie Madrox. But then we're basically getting, okay, all of this, we've seen it all before, we've got a closed time loop situation, except at some point, somehow, we get a different version of everything that's happened here, where apparently Bishop put a bomb on one of the Jamie Madroxes, and then like all of these different Madroxes from different time periods, they all explode at different points in time. And so then at one point, evil Jamie, who now has regrets, he has taken all of these other Jamie Madroxes, Hulk Jamie, Deadpool Jamie, Cloak Jamie, Cable Jamie, and then they show up and it's like just an empty wasteland. And they're like, well, this is the correct win, but this is not the win that we're supposed to be in, or something. And then second in command Jamie, who worked for evil Tyrant Jamie, he comes back in time and he says that he's here to do something, I don't know, but he's the bad guy now. And then basically Jamie is able to absorb that Jamie, but then he's like, well, I've still got some evil urges. There's part of me that wants to just be a good guy, but part of me that wants to be evil and take over the world like the one guy that I just absorbed. So then Hulk Jamie crushes that Jamie's head. And then all of these Jamie Madroxes die. Because when the Prime Jamie dies, then any dupes of that Jamie will also die. Now, when one of these Jamie Madroxes was sending a whole bunch of his dupes to different points in time, he was saying, I need you guys to go and bring back people who can help us stop evil Jamie from doing what he's doing. And then all of those Jamies that he sends to different points in time eventually become the Jamie Madroxes that we see in this book. One of them drinks some irradiated gamma water, and I think that's supposed to be in the Old Man Logan timeline because he's talking to somebody who is carving arrows and has a bow, and he looks a lot like Old Man Hawkeye. So somewhere in the Old Man Logan timeline, Jamie Madrox accidentally becomes a Hulk. Then one of them, he gets teleported to the year 2099. He meets the Freak Show. They were minor characters in the X-Men 2099 comics, and then those guys use the Weapon X technology to turn this version of Jamie into the ultimate mutant weapon. It doesn't do them any good because that guy dies like a punk. He gets shot and dies pretty easily. So that's why that version of Jamie is dressed up like Deadpool. Then one of them somehow became Cable. I don't even know which timeline he went to. One of them went to the Master of the Mystic Arts and learned how to become a sorcerer for like 50 years. And then one of them went to, I poo you not, the Marvel swimsuit timeline, where Punisher is playing volleyball with like Wolverine or something, I don't know, and Punisher has a skull speedo. And then this version of Jamie was looking for Tony Stark so that he could recruit the Avengers to help him. But he never found Tony Stark. And then he decides to start working at a tiki bar and works there for years. And then finally, he does go back to the time that he was supposed to go to help all the other Jamies, but that time has been destroyed. So then he tries to go back to the tiki bar, but then that timeline has been destroyed. So then he comes back to the present day. And then he has a beard, and he's basically just like, yeah, good vibes, man, what's up? Totally different than all of the other versions of Jamie we've seen, and that's kind of sort of how Jamie's power works. If he creates a dupe, and then he leaves that dupe for years, that dupe will develop a different and unique personality from the previous Jamie. The problem is, Matthew Rosenberg once said that the entire point of this miniseries was to bring Jamie Madrox back. And now this one, who worked at a tiki bar in the Marvel swimsuit universe, he doesn't act like Jamie Madrox, not the one that we know from from the Marvel universe. So it kind of feels like, what was the point? Why did you do this miniseries if you're going to bring back a different version of Jamie Madrox? This story was a nightmare. I think I lost brain cells just explaining that to you guys. I think I did the best that I could, but I read all of this in pretty much one sitting, and I don't understand anything that happens in this book. And I wanted to like this because I really like the character of Jamie Madrox. Even when I wasn't a big fan of a lot of what Peter David was doing in X Factor, I still liked a lot of the character stuff in that run. I haven't read that whole run. There are a few volumes towards the end that are really impossible to find. They're super expensive online. But I really enjoyed Jamie Madrox as a character, and I think Peter David did as well. I think that was was the one character he kind of latched onto the most. I thought Jamie's powers were really interesting in that series. They were used in interesting ways. And I think that Peter David could have done another 50 issues of Jamie Madrox stuff, and I would have been happy with that. So when I found out that he had died in Death of X, and it wasn't even that good of a death, it was kind of a, hey, we need somebody that you've kind of heard of before, so here's Jamie Madrox, he died, okay, let's move on with the rest of this story. I was disappointed with that. And then I heard that we were going to get a miniseries bringing him back, and I thought, okay, maybe this is going to kind of explain some of the stuff that doesn't make sense between the ending of Peter David's X-Factor run and the Death of X storyline. And no, it does not do that. And by the way, the wizard Jamie, the one who's wearing Cloak's cloak, he has the M tattoo, but I don't understand where or when he gets that, because as far as I know, he did not land in Bishop's timeline. He's living in Tony Stark's Sanctum Sanctorum, because in this universe, Tony Stark is a magician, and then he studies the mystic arts. Sentinels don't come and try to kill him as they would in Bishop's timeline, or put him in a camp with Bishop. They don't try to do that, so I don't understand how this one dupe has the M tattoo and none of the others do. I'm rambling. Nothing makes sense right now. The Silver Surfer could walk through my door right now and tell me that Galactus wants to talk to me, and I would say, okay, that makes sense, because nothing makes sense right now. I hated the story. I hate everything that I've read from Matthew Rosenberg, and I don't want to say that because I was looking forward to reading this, but I did not like that New Mutants Dead Souls miniseries that just ended kind of abruptly and was just an advertisement for his Uncanny X-Men run that was going on at that time. I did not like Phoenix Resurrection, and I absolutely detested this. I don't think I want to read anything else from him, and that's a shame because he wrote like 18 or so issues of Uncanny X-Men, and I've heard some people say it was great. I've heard some people say they were super excited for the Jonathan Hickman X-Men stuff to start so that they could get past the Matthew Rosenberg X-Men stuff. So I have no idea. But so far, he is batting 3 for 3 on awful X-Men stories. So that is about all that I have to say about Multiple Man. I refuse to even repeat this title because no, it does not make sense in the end. That's everything I have to say. I will see you guys in the future. In the meantime, have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.